The sun burned hot over the crowded streets of Manila, where a boy named Rafael stood barefoot near a row of jeepneys, holding a dented microphone connected to a small speaker. His mother sold fish balls nearby, her hands moving quickly as the smell of oil filled the air. Rafael's voice rose above the traffic noise, carrying the kind of emotion that made people stop for a moment, look back, and drop a few coins into a tin cup beside him. Singing wasn't just his passion, it was how he helped his mother survive each day. The music gave him something no one could take away: hope. He didn't have fancy clothes or lessons, but when he sang, he felt rich, even if it was just for 3 minutes. At night, when the streetlights flickered, Rafael often sang to himself, pretending he was on a stage with thousands of people cheering. His mother smiled sadly from their small room made of tin walls, knowing her son's dreams were far bigger than their world. Sometimes, rain leaked through the roof, and he would still sing to drown out the sound of thunder. He believed his voice could be a bridge to somewhere better, even if he didn't know where that was yet. One evening, a foreign tourist stopped by, drawn by Rafael's voice echoing through the narrow street. The man took out his phone and recorded the boy singing, "You Raise Me Up." Rafael didn't pay much attention, people took videos all the time, but this one would be different. Days passed, and Rafael forgot about it. But one morning, his mother rushed to him with excitement, her phone shaking in her hands. The video had gone viral. Thousands of comments called him the boy with the golden voice. People around the world were sharing it, crying, sending love, and asking who he was. News vans started showing up. TV reporters wanted interviews, photographers asked for pictures, and strangers offered money. Rafael didn't know who to trust. Some said they could make him famous, others just wanted a piece of his story. Fame came faster than he could understand. He was still just a kid with dreams, but now the world wanted a part of him. Local radio hosts played his song on air, and even schools invited him to perform. He would look at the audience and wonder if they really saw him, the real boy who still ate rice and salt for dinner, the boy who still worried about paying rent. But each time he sang, the same magic returned. It wasn't about the money or the attention. It was about the feeling of finally being heard. He started to believe that maybe, just maybe, God had a plan bigger than the streets of Manila. One night, as he scrolled through messages, he saw one that made his heart race. It was from a well-known vocal coach in America who said she wanted to sponsor him for an international audition. Rafael showed his mother, who stared at the message in disbelief. "Maybe it's fake," she whispered. But something in his heart told him it wasn't. He didn't know English very well, but he understood enough to feel the sincerity in the words. For days they prayed together, asking for guidance. The streets were the only life they had known, and leaving them felt terrifying. Rafael returned to his favorite spot, where he had first been recorded, and looked at the same cracked pavement. He sang again under the soft glow of the streetlight, but this time, there was a spark in his voice, a quiet promise to himself. The same people who used to walk past him now stopped to take pictures, cheering him on. His mother wiped her eyes, half proud, half afraid. The city that once ignored him now seemed to listen. The air felt different, charged with possibility. He didn't know where his journey would take him, but deep down, he believed something extraordinary was waiting. For the first time in his life, he wasn't just singing for survival, he was singing for a dream that was finally beginning to come true. The sound of the airplane engines roared like thunder as Rafael gripped his mother's hand tightly, staring out the small window. It was the first time he had ever left the Philippines, the first time he had ever seen clouds so close. His heart pounded between excitement and fear. When they landed in Los Angeles, everything felt strange: the cold wind, the tall buildings, the unfamiliar smell of coffee shops and car exhaust. People moved fast, their voices sharp and loud. Rafael's mother smiled nervously, clutching her small bag of documents and the little money they had left. Everything they owned now fit inside 2 suitcases, but they carried something far greater: hope. The next morning, they arrived at the studio where the auditions were taking place. The building was huge, glowing with lights and giant posters of singers and dancers. Rafael felt small standing among the other contestants. They were dressed in designer clothes, their voices confident and rehearsed. Some whispered when they saw him in his simple shirt and worn-out sneakers. He lowered his eyes, feeling out of place, but when the vocal coach greeted him, her warmth gave him courage. She told him to believe in his gift, to remember where he came from, and to sing with his heart, not just his voice. Inside the rehearsal room, Rafael sang softly at first, unsure if his sound belonged there. The room was empty except for a few staff members. But when he hit the high notes, everyone stopped. The janitor paused his work, a producer leaned in from the hallway, and one of the technicians whispered, "That's the kid from the viral video." Rafael didn't notice them, he was lost in the song, eyes closed, voice trembling with emotion. When he finished, there was silence. Then a quiet clap. The vocal coach smiled and said, "You're ready." Those two words gave him strength he had never felt before. The night of the live audition arrived faster than he expected. Backstage, he could hear the audience cheering for the acts before him. He could feel the vibrations through the floor, like the heartbeat of a giant. When his name was called, he froze for a moment. His mother squeezed his hand and whispered, "Sing like you're singing to God." He took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The lights were blinding, the crowd a blur of faces. The judges sat in front of him, including Simon Cowell, whose serious expression made his knees shake. Rafael introduced himself softly, his voice barely reaching the microphone. Then the music began, soft piano chords that echoed through the theater. He started to sing, "You Raise Me Up," the same song that had changed his life. The first verse came out shaky, but then he closed his eyes and let everything pour out. Every hungry night, every moment of loneliness, every time he had sung on the streets while people walked past him. His voice soared, filled with pain and beauty, and the crowd fell silent. Even the judges looked stunned. As the song built, Rafael's voice grew stronger. He hit the final note and held it, the sound echoing across the hall like a prayer. When he opened his eyes, the entire audience was on their feet. Simon Cowell stood slowly, clapping, his expression softening. Then, without a word, one of the judges reached forward and hit the golden buzzer. The stage exploded with light and golden confetti raining from above. Rafael dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face as his mother ran toward him, arms wide open. In that instant, time stopped. The boy who once sang for coins on the streets was now standing in front of millions, showered in gold, his dream shining brighter than the lights around him. The hosts rushed onto the stage, hugging him, while the crowd continued to cheer. He could barely breathe, overwhelmed by emotion. His mother whispered, "You did it, Anik. You did it." Rafael looked up at the falling confetti, knowing that one song, just one song, had changed everything. His life, his world, and his destiny would never be the same again. The days after the golden buzzer felt like a dream that Rafael couldn't quite believe. Reporters wanted interviews, fans sent letters, and talent managers from all over the world tried to contact him. He was flown from one city to another, performing on shows, smiling for cameras, and giving answers to questions he barely understood. Every time he looked at himself on TV, wearing clothes he could never afford before, he felt proud but also lost. The lights were bright, but they blinded him from the world he once knew. At night, when everyone else slept, he would look at his mother's old phone and scroll through pictures of the streets of Manila, remembering who he was. He missed the noise, the laughter, even the smell of fried fish balls. It reminded him of where his dream had started. Fame was beautiful, but it came with pressure he wasn't ready for. He was expected to be perfect all the time, to smile even when he wanted to cry. Some people called him a miracle, but others said he was just lucky. Rumors spread that he couldn't handle fame, that he was just a poor boy who got lucky once. Those words hurt him deeply, but his mother always reminded him, "You don't sing to prove them wrong, you sing to show your heart." He tried to stay true to that. He continued training, learning new songs, performing at charity events, and saving what money he could. After his first world tour, Rafael decided to return home to the Philippines. When he stepped back onto the same streets where he used to sing, the people gathered around him, cheering, calling his name. But what touched him most were the children holding microphones made of sticks and bottles, pretending to be him. He saw himself in their eyes, hungry, hopeful, and brave. He knew what he needed to do. With the money he had earned, he bought a small piece of land in Manila and opened a music school for poor children. It wasn't fancy, but it was filled with laughter and song. He taught them that music wasn't about fame, it was about expression, healing, and connection. Each day, more children joined. They came barefoot, some hungry, but they left with smiles and voices full of strength. Rafael's heart was full. He realized that success wasn't measured by applause but by the lives he touched. His mother watched proudly, knowing her son had found his true purpose. The fame faded a little over time, but Rafael didn't care. He no longer needed to be seen by millions. He only needed to make a difference in the lives of those who once stood where he did. Years passed, and Rafael grew into a confident, humble man known for his heart as much as his voice. When his mother passed away quietly one evening, he was devastated. She had been his light, his reason to sing. For weeks, he couldn't bring himself to perform. But one day, a letter arrived inviting him to perform at a charity concert in New York dedicated to children living in poverty. He hesitated, then decided to go, not for fame, but to honor his mother's memory. The concert hall was filled with thousands of people from around the world. As he stepped onto the stage, the lights reminded him of his first performance in America, but this time, he wasn't afraid. Behind him stood a choir of children from his Manila school, their faces glowing with joy. He took the microphone, looked up at the sky, and whispered, "For you, Mama." Then he began to sing. His voice was deeper now, wiser, but still full of the same soul that once echoed through the streets. The audience listened in silence, many wiping tears from their eyes. The song built slowly, carrying every memory, every hardship, every dream. When he finished, the entire hall rose to its feet, applauding and crying. Rafael smiled, tears streaming down his face. He realized that the boy who once sang for survival had become a man who sang to heal. The world had given him fame, but music had given him something far greater, purpose. As the applause faded, Rafael closed his eyes and whispered a quiet thank you to the woman who had always believed that one song could change everything. And it did.